The piano was silent when I first heard it. I know that sounds impossible hearing silence. But in Dante Rossi's mansion, silence wasn't emptiness. It was a warning, a held breath. The kind that comes before something breaks. His daughter sat alone in that music room every single day, running her fingers over keys she couldn't see, waiting for sound that never came. And me? I was just the maid who couldn't mind her own business. But when she whispered, "Does music have a color?" everything I thought I knew about survival shattered. Because teaching a blind girl to play the piano in a mafia boss's house, that's not kindness, that's a death wish. 3 weeks earlier, I was Angela Reed's 24, broke, and one overdue rent notice away from becoming a subway ghost story. My apartment smelled like instant ramen and regret. My bank account had $17, and the audacity to charge me a maintenance fee. My phone? Cracked screen, dead battery, and 12 missed calls from my landlord who definitely wasn't calling to wish me happy birthday. I was scrolling through job listings on a library computer when I saw it. Live-in domestic position, confidential household, discretion required, compensation, $8,000 divided by month. $8,000. I read it 3 times, checked for typos, looked for the catch. Confidential household. That could mean anything. Celebrities, politicians, weirdos with secret bunkers and too many cats. But $8,000 wasn't a salary, it was a lifeline. I clicked apply before logic could talk me out of it. The application was strange. No company name, just a P.O. box and 3 questions. Can you keep secrets? Do you have family in New York? Have you ever been arrested? I answered honestly. Yes, no, not yet. Sent it off, forgot about it. 2 days later, a black town car pulled up outside my building. The driver wore sunglasses at 9 p.m. He said my name like a statement, not a question. Angela Reed's. Mr. Rossi is expecting you. Rossi. That name tasted like expensive wine and fresh cement. I'd heard it before. Whispered in bodegas. Printed in tabloids with words like alleged and under investigation. Dante Rossi. Real estate. Imports. The kind of business where people asked no questions and buildings got bought in cash. I should have run. Instead, I got in the car. Because when you're drowning, you don't ask the lifeboat where it's headed. You just grab on and hope it floats. The leather seats were soft. The silence was expensive. And somewhere in the dark, a piano was waiting. The Rossi estate didn't look like a home. It looked like a fortress wrapped in Italian marble and bad intentions. Wrought iron gates opened without a sound. The driveway curved through manicured hedges that probably cost more than my entire neighborhood. Fountains, stone lions, security cameras tucked into the architecture like secrets. The car stopped in front of double doors tall enough to make me feel like an aunt at a wedding. The driver opened my door. Miss Reed's. Welcome. I stepped out, clutching my duffel bag like it might protect me from whatever came next. A woman appeared in the doorway, mid-50s, gray bun, expression carved from disapproval. She looked me up and down the way you'd inspect spoiled milk. I'm Mrs. Callahan, head of staff. You're late. I didn't know what time. Punctuality isn't optional here. Her accent was Irish, clipped. Follow me. Touch nothing. Speak to no one unless spoken to. Mr. Rossi values silence and efficiency. Provide both. She turned. I followed. Inside was a museum pretending to be a house. Chandeliers dripped crystal light onto floors so polished I could see my reflection judging me. Oil paintings of stern Italian men lined the walls, ancestors. Probably, all scowling like they knew something I didn't. The air smelled like leather, lemon polish, and money that didn't apologize. We passed a dining room with a table long enough to seat a small army. A library with shelves that reached the ceiling. A sitting room where no one had ever Saturday. Staff moved through hallways like shadows, maids in black and white uniforms, men in dark suits with earpieces, a chef barking orders in rapid Italian from somewhere unseen. No one looked at me. No one smiled. Mrs. Callahan stopped at a staircase. Your quarters are on the 3rd floor, east wing. You'll clean the main areas, the music room, Mr. Rossi's study, and the family wing. Laundry is Tuesdays and Fridays. Meals are in the staff kitchen. You eat what's provided, no exceptions. Got it. Her eyes narrowed. One more thing. The child. Child, Mr. Rossi's daughter. You do not speak to her. You do not engage. She is not your concern. Understood? Something cold slid down my spine. Why? Because those are the rules. Her voice dropped. And in this house, rules aren't suggestions, they're survival. She handed me a key. Your room is 304, staff meeting is at 6 a.m., don't be late again. Then she left me standing there, alone, in a palace that felt like a cage. I climbed the stairs slowly. My room was small but nicer than anywhere I'd ever lived. Queen bed, private bathroom, a window overlooking the gardens. I sat on the bed, looked at my hands. $8,000, I reminded myself. Just keep your head down. Do the work. Stay invisible. But somewhere in the house, a little girl wasn't supposed to be spoken to. And I've never been good at following rules. I met her on my second day. Not officially, not intentionally. But there are some encounters that feel less like coincidence and more like fate setting traps. It was early afternoon. I'd been assigned to clean the east wing, dusting bookshelves no one read, polishing tables no one touched, erasing evidence that humans lived here at all. Then I heard it. Not music. Not quite. A single note. Soft. Hesitant. Like someone testing whether sound still existed. I followed it down the hallway, past oil paintings of Italian villas, and closed doors that probably hid things I didn't want to know about. The music room. Massive. Flooded with natural light from floor to ceiling windows. A grand piano sat in the center like a sleeping dragon, black, glossy, untouched. And sitting on the bench was the smallest, loneliest figure I'd ever seen. She couldn't have been more than 7, blonde hair in 2 neat braids, a green velvet dress that looked expensive and uncomfortable. Her hands rested on the keys, delicate as porcelain. But her eyes, they stared past the piano, past the window, past everything. Milky, unfocused, blind. She pressed another key, middle C, held it until the sound dissolved into silence. Then she sighed, a tiny, heartbreaking sound. "Hello?" I said softly. She didn't flinch, didn't turn, just tilted her head slightly, like she was cataloging my existence. "You're new," she said. Her voice was clear, older than her years. "You smell like lavender soap. The staff uses rose." I blinked. Yeah, I'm Angela. They told you not to talk to me." It wasn't a question. "They did," I admitted. "Then why are you?" "Good question, excellent question, the kind that could get me fired or worse." I stepped closer. "Because you looked lonely." She smiled. Small, sad, knowing. "Lonely," she repeated, like tasting the word. "Papa says I have everything I need. Do you? I have this piano." Her fingers brushed the keys again. "But it doesn't talk back." My chest tightened. "What's your name?" "Sophia. Sophia Rossi, Dante's daughter, the ghost in the mansion." "Do you play?" she asked. "I used to." "Why did you stop?" "Because life happened. Because dreams die when rent is due. Because talent doesn't matter when you're invisible." "I forgot how," I said instead. Sophia's smile widened. "That's okay, I never learned." She stood, smoothing her dress. "They'll be looking for me. Goodbye, Angela who smells like lavender." She walked past me, one hand trailing along the wall, navigating the room from memory. At the door, she paused. "The piano misses being played," she whispered. "I can feel it." Then she was gone. And I stood there, staring at that silent dragon of a piano, wondering what the hell I'd just started. Mrs. Callahan found me 20 minutes later. "Miss Reed's." Her voice could freeze vodka. A word. I followed her to the staff kitchen, industrial, sterile, smelling like espresso and judgment. The other staff avoided eye contact, suddenly fascinated by their duties. She closed the door. "I saw you speaking with the child." My stomach dropped. She was alone. I was just nothing. Mrs. Callahan's expression didn't change, but something dangerous flickered behind her eyes. "Mr. Rossi has rules. Simple rules. You were briefed." "I know, but..." "No buts. That child is not your responsibility, not your concern, not your charity case." She stepped closer. "Do you know why staff doesn't last here?" I shook my head. "Because they forget their place. They ask questions. They form attachments." Her voice dropped. "This isn't a normal household, Miss Reed's. Mr. Rossi is a man of specific order. Sophia is delicate, protected. The last thing she needs is confusion from someone who won't be here in 6 months." I wasn't trying to... "Intent doesn't matter, results do." She straightened. "You're here to clean, to be invisible, to collect your very generous salary and keep your head down. Can you do that? $8,000. $8,000. $8,000. Yes, ma'am. Good. She opened the door. The music room is off limits unless you're cleaning. And even then, touch nothing. That piano is worth more than you'll make in 5 years. Understood? Understood. She left. I exhaled. Around me, the other staff slowly resumed normal activity. A maid my age, pretty, dark hair, nervous energy caught my eye and mouthed, "Don't." I nodded. But that night, lying in my too comfortable bed, I couldn't stop thinking about Sophia, about her milky eyes and her lonely sigh, about a 7-year-old who navigated by memory and talked to pianos that didn't answer. The staff whispered about Dante Rossi like he was a legend, ruthless, brilliant, untouchable. A man who built empires and buried mistakes. Someone you didn't cross. Someone you feared. But no one talked about Sophia. She was the ghost in the machine, the secret everyone protected. And I was starting to realize that in this house, silence wasn't just a rule, it was a weapon. I didn't see Sophia for 3 days. I cleaned around her absence the music room at dawn before she arrived, the family wing after she'd gone to bed. I followed orders, stayed invisible. But invisibility is an illusion when someone's already seen you. On the 4th day, I was dusting the library when I felt it. That specific awareness, the kind that raises hair on your neck. I turned. Sophia stood in the doorway, head tilted, listening. "You move quietly," she said. "But your bracelet jingles. Silver, I think." I looked down at the cheap charm bracelet my mom gave me before she died. "How did you—" "I hear things." She smiled. "Things people don't notice. Like how the 3rd stair from the top creaks only when you step on the left side. Or how Cook hums opera when he thinks no one's listening. Or how you stop moving whenever you pass the music room." My throat tightened. "I'm just working." "You're listening." She walked in, trailing her fingers along the bookshelf spines. To the silence. "You hate it too." "Sophia, I'm not supposed to." "Talk to me." "I know." She found her way to the window seat like she'd done it 1,000 times. "But you're the only one who does anyway. Your father. Papa is afraid." She said it simply, matter of fact. "Not of bad men or bullets. He's afraid of me breaking. So he keeps me in a beautiful cage and tells everyone to stay away." She patted the seat next to her. "Sit." I shouldn't have. Every logical brain cell screamed at me not to. Saturday. "Tell me something," Sophia said. "Something true." "Like what?" "Anything. I'm so tired of lies told kindly." I thought about it. About Mrs. Callahan's warnings. About $8,000. About survival. Then I thought about Sophia's sigh in the music room. "I used to play piano," I said. "At Juilliard. I was good, really good. But my mom got sick, and bills don't care about dreams. So I left. And I haven't touched a piano in 3 years because—" I paused. "Because it hurt too much to remember what I lost." Sophia was quiet. Then, "The piano in the music room hasn't been played in 2 years. Not since Mama died." The air shifted. She was a concert pianist. Sophia continued softly. "Papa had it tuned every month. Even now. Even though it just sits there, silent." She turned toward me, those unseeing eyes somehow looking straight through me. "I think it's lonely too." "Sophia, teach me." "What?" "Teach me to play, please." Her small hand found mine. "I want to hear what music looks like." And just like that, my survival instinct died. It happened on a Tuesday night. The house was asleep, or at least pretending to be. I'd learned that nothing in the Rossi estate truly rested. Security cameras blinked. Guards patrolled. Even the marble seemed to be watching. But at 2 a.m., the music room was empty. I told myself I was just checking, making sure it was clean for tomorrow. Definitely not breaking the most important rule in the house. The piano waited. I'd been around instruments my entire life, but this one was different. A Steinway Model D concert grand, handcrafted, worth more than some houses. The kind of piano that demanded respect. I sat on the bench. The keys were cool under my fingers, smooth, perfect. I pressed middle C. The sound was crystalline, pure. It resonated through the room, through my chest, through 3 years of silence I'd built around my heart. I closed my eyes and played. Nothing complicated, just a simple melody, Debussy's Clair de Lune. Soft, gentle, like remembering how to breathe after holding your breath too long. The notes spilled out, and with them, everything I'd buried. Every dream I'd abandoned. Every version of Angela Reed's Who'd believed she was special? I didn't hear her enter. You lied. I spun around, heart in my throat. Sophia stood in the doorway in white pajamas, her braids slightly messy, her blind eyes somehow seeing everything. Sophia. You should be. You said you forgot how to play. She walked forward, navigating perfectly. But you didn't forget. You just stopped wanting to remember. Damn. This kid was terrifying. How did you? I hear everything at night. The house tells me secrets. She reached the piano, placed her small hands on the wood. Play again. Sophia, if your father. Papa is in the city, business. He won't be back until morning. She climbed onto the bench beside me. Please, just one more song. I should have said no, should have walked away, should have remembered that $8,000 was survival and this was suicide. Instead, I played. Something simple. A melody I'd written when I was 16 and still believed in things like fate and fairness. Sophia listened, perfectly still, barely breathing. Then she reached out, found my hands, stopped them. Teach me that. Sophia, please. Her voice cracked. Just slightly. Just enough. I want to touch sound. I want to make something beautiful. Even if I can't see it. And there it was. The reason I couldn't walk away. Because loneliness recognizes itself. And broken people are drawn to other broken things. Okay, I whispered. But we have to be careful. Quiet. This stays between us. Sophia nodded solemnly. Secret. Secret, I agreed. I guided her hands to the keys. Positioned her fingers. Taught her the first 5 notes. C, D, E, F, G. She played them slowly, methodically, like each note was a tiny miracle. When she finished, she smiled. And for the first time since I'd arrived, the Rossi mansion didn't feel like a cage. It felt like possibility. We became thieves of time. Every night after midnight, when the house exhaled its tension and the guards changed shifts, Sophia would slip down to the music room, and I'd be waiting. We never spoke about the risk. Never acknowledged that what we were doing could get me fired or worse. We just played. I taught her the basics: posture, hand position, the way each finger had a job, a purpose. She learned faster than anyone I'd ever taught, maybe because she felt the music instead of seeing it, maybe because she needed it more than most people need air. Within a week, she could play simple scales. Within 2, she'd memorized a children's song. By week 3, she was playing pieces I'd struggled with for months at her age. You're gifted, I told her one night. Or desperate, she replied, too wise for 7. We laughed. Quietly. The kind of laughter that's mostly exhaled relief. Tell me about music school, she said, resting her hands on the keys. What was it like? I thought about Juilliard. The competition. The egos. The way talent was both currency and weapon. Magical and terrible, I admitted. Like being in love with someone who doesn't love you back. Did you want to be famous? I wanted to matter. Sophia tilted her head. You matter now. Something in my chest cracked. Sophia. You do, she insisted. You're teaching me. That matters. Maybe more than stages and applause. I wanted to believe her. Wanted to think that mattering could happen in secret, in the dark, in stolen moments at a forbidden piano. But I'd learned the hard way that dreams die when no one's watching. What do you want? I asked instead. When you grow up? Sophia was quiet for a long moment. Then, I want to play at Carnegie Hall. I want Papa to hear me and know I'm not broken. She paused. I want him to be proud instead of afraid. My throat tightened. He is proud. He's careful. There's a difference. Her fingers found mine on the keys. But when you teach me, I feel whole. Like I'm more than the blind girl everyone whispers about. I'm a musician. We sat there in the darkness, 2 people who didn't fit anywhere, making something beautiful out of nothing. And I thought, this is why people risk everything. Not for money, not for safety, but for moments when you feel like you're exactly where you're supposed to be. Ready for the next piece? I asked. Sophia nodded, grinning. Always. We played until dawn threatened. Then, like ghosts, we disappeared back into our separate silences. But the music stayed between us. A secret. A rebellion. A beginning. We got careless. That's what happens when something forbidden starts feeling like oxygen. You forget it can kill you. It was a Thursday night. Sophia had just mastered the opening of Chopin's Nocturne in E-flat. Major, delicate, haunting, perfect. She was glowing with pride. her fingers dancing across keys like she'd been doing this her whole life. Again, I said, smiling. But this time, let the emotion lead. Don't think, just feel. She nodded, repositioning her hands. That's when the door opened. Not slowly, not tentatively. It opened like a verdict. Dante Rossi stepped into the music room, and the temperature dropped 20 degrees. I'd seen him before, glimpses in hallways, shadows in doorways, the back of his head in his study. But I'd never been in the same room with him, never felt the full weight of his presence. He was tall, 6'2", maybe more. Charcoal suit tailored so precisely it looked weaponized. Dark hair swept back, silver threading the temples. A face that could have been carved from marble, sharp jaw, Roman nose, eyes the color of espresso and old secrets. He looked at the piano, at Sophia's hands frozen on the keys, at me, and I understood why people feared him. Not because he was loud, not because he threatened, because he didn't have to. Papa. Sophia's voice was small but steady. You're home early. Clearly. His voice was smooth, deep, Italian accent curling around each word like smoke. And clearly, the rules in my home have become optional. My heart hammered. Mr. Rossi, I can explain. Can you? He stepped closer. Each footfall echoed. Explain why my daughter is awake at 2 a.m, why you're teaching her something explicitly forbidden, why you've decided your employment is expendable. She wanted to learn. The words tumbled out. She asked me to teach her, and I couldn't. You couldn't follow a simple instruction. He stopped 3 feet away, close enough that I could smell his cologne, bergamot, and danger. Do you know why that piano hasn't been played in 2 years, Miss Reeds? Because your wife. Because every time it's played, Sophia asks where her mother is. Every single time. His jaw tightened, and I have to watch her heart break again. Silence. Sophia stood. Small, brave, terrifying. Papa, she didn't play it. I did. Dante's eyes snapped to his daughter. Sophia. I asked her to teach me. I made her break the rule. Sophia's chin lifted. If you're angry, be angry at me. Angela was just. She was just helping me not be lonely. The word hung in the air like an accusation. Dante stared at his daughter. Something flickered across his face, pain, maybe, or recognition. The kind that comes when you see yourself reflected in someone else's wounds. Then he did something I didn't expect. He laughed. Once. Short. Dry. The sound of a man who'd just realized he'd lost a battle he didn't know he was fighting. Lonely, he repeated, the word tasting bitter. In a house with 12 staff members, you're lonely. Staff aren't family. Papa. Another silence, heavier than the first. Dante looked at me, really looked, like he was recalculating something. How long? He asked. 3 weeks, I admitted. And she's learned? Scales, basic pieces. We've been working on Chopin. His eyebrow raised. Barely. Chopin. She's gifted, I said. Really gifted. She learns faster than anyone I've ever taught. Dante walked to the piano, ran his hand across the polished wood like touching a grave. Then he turned and walked toward the door. Mr. Rossi? My voice cracked. Am I fired? He paused, didn't turn around. No, Miss Reeds, you're not fired. He left. The door closed. Sophia and I stood there, breathing hard, processing survival. That was terrifying, I whispered. That was Papa impressed, Sophia corrected. He only laughs when something surprises him. That wasn't a happy laugh. No, she smiled. But it wasn't an angry one either. I wasn't sure which was more dangerous. I didn't sleep. Couldn't. I lay in bed replaying Dante's expression, his laugh, the way he'd touched the piano like it held ghosts. At 6 a.m., Mrs. Callahan knocked. Mr. Rossi requests your presence. His study. Now. My stomach dropped. Is Sophia? The child is fine. Move. I threw on clothes and followed her down hallways that felt longer than yesterday. We stopped at a mahogany door. She knocked twice, then left without a word. Enter, came Dante's voice. His study was exactly what you'd expect. Leather, dark wood, floor-to-ceiling bookshelves, a desk that could double as a negotiating table. He sat behind it, reading something on his laptop, not looking up. Sit. Saturday. He finished whatever he was reading, closed the laptop, looked at me with those espresso eyes that missed nothing. You have formal training. Not a question. Juilliard. 3 years before I had to leave. Why did you leave? My mother had cancer. Medical bills. I dropped out to work. He nodded. Like he'd already known. Like he'd already run a background check at 3 a.m. because that's what men like him do. Sophia will perform at a recital. Saturday, the Plaza Hotel. There will be press, donors, people who matter. He leaned back. She will play Chopin's Nocturne. And something original. You have 4 days to make her ready. My mouth opened, closed. Mr. Rossi, 4 days isn't. You've taught her Chopin in 3 weeks. 4 days will suffice. He pulled a card from his desk drawer. Slid it across. There's a dress waiting for you at this boutique. You'll accompany Sophia. You'll sit in the front row. You'll ensure she doesn't falter. I stared at the card. Bergdorf Goodman. A place where I couldn't afford the tissue paper. Why are you doing this? I asked. Because my daughter defended you. His voice softened. Barely. And in 7 years, she's never defended anyone. Not even herself. He stood. Don't make me regret this, Miss Reeds. I won't. Good. He walked to the window, dismissing me with his silence. I stood. Reached the door. Miss Reeds? I turned. She's brilliant because you see her as brilliant, not broken. His reflection in the window was sharp. Sad. Don't stop seeing her that way. Then he was done with feelings. And I was holding a card that weighed more than gold. The next 4 days were beautiful chaos. Sophia and I locked ourselves in the music room. We worked through the Nocturne until her fingers could navigate it blind, which, ironically, they had to. We polished every phrase, every dynamic, every breath between notes. But the real magic happened when we composed. It started accidentally. Sophia was frustrated, kept hitting the wrong chord in the Chopin piece. I suggested we take a break, just improvise, let her hands wander. She played a haunting little melody, simple, 5 notes descending. It sounded like rain on glass, like goodbye, like memory. That, I said. Play that again. She did. I added a harmony underneath. She adjusted the rhythm. I built a bridge. She created an echo. We worked like that for hours, back and forth, building something from nothing. No words, just understanding. When we finished, Sophia sat back, breathing hard. What do we call it? She asked. I thought about Dante's wife. The piano that hadn't been played. The loneliness Sophia carried like a second shadow. How about The Room That Remembers? Sophia smiled. Sad. Perfect. Mama would have liked that. We practiced until our fingers ached, until the Nocturne was flawless and our original piece could break hearts. On Friday night, the night before the recital, Sophia was nervous. What if I mess up? She asked. You won't. But what if I do? What if Papa is embarrassed? What if everyone realizes I'm just what? I interrupted. Just a 7-year-old who learned concert-level piano in a month? Just a kid who composes music that makes people cry? Just brilliant? She was quiet. Sophia. I took her hands. Tomorrow, hundreds of people will hear you play, and they'll remember it for the rest of their lives. Not because you're perfect. Because you're real. Do you think Mama would be proud? My throat tightened. I think she's already proud, wherever she is. Sophia hugged me. Small arms, big trust. Thank you for breaking the rules, Angela. Thank you for making me, I whispered back. That night, I tried on the dress. Black, elegant, simple but expensive in a way only rich people understand. It fit perfectly, which meant Dante had estimated my size without ever asking. I stared at myself in the mirror. 24. Broke. A college dropout who taught piano to a mafia boss's blind daughter. Tomorrow, I'd sit in the Plaza Hotel surrounded by Manhattan's elite. And I'd pray Sophia's genius was louder than my fear. I hung the dress carefully. Tried to sleep. Failed spectacularly. Because sometimes, the night before everything changes, your body knows before your brain does. The Plaza Hotel didn't just host events. It devoured them, swallowed them whole and spit out legends. I arrived with Sophia in a car that cost more than my college tuition. She wore emerald green, her mother's favorite color, Mrs. Callahan had whispered. Her hair was perfect. Her expression was calm. Meanwhile, I was sweating through my expensive dress. You're nervous, Sophia said. I'm terrified, I admitted. Good. Mama always said if you're not nervous, you're not paying attention. She squeezed my hand. We got this. Like we were partners. Like I wasn't just the help. Inside, the ballroom was suffocating with wealth. Crystal chandeliers, marble columns, people in tuxedos and gowns that cost more than cars. I recognized faces from magazines, real estate moguls, socialites, a retired senator, the mayor. Everyone was here to see Dante Rossi's mysterious daughter. We were led to the front row. Dante was already seated, tailored navy suit, no tie, looking like power incarnate. He glanced at Sophia, and something in his expression softened. "Mia Stella," he murmured. "My star." Sophia beamed. Then his eyes landed on me. Brief. Assessing. A nod so small I almost missed it. "Don't screw this up," it said. "I won't," I promised silently. The lights dimmed. An announcer, some society woman with a transatlantic accent, stepped to the microphone. "Ladies and gentlemen, we have a very special performance tonight. Miss Sophia Rossi, age 7, will be playing Chopin's Nocturne in E-flat major, followed by an original composition." Polite applause. Sophia stood. I guided her to the piano, positioned her hands, whispered, "Remember, you're not playing for them. You're playing for you." She nodded. I returned to my seat. The ballroom held its breath. Sophia's fingers touched the keys. And then, magic. The nocturne flowed from her like water, like memory, like something ancient and knowing. She didn't just play the notes, she understood them. Every phrase had weight, every silence had meaning. People leaned forward, phones were lowered, even the waiters stopped moving. She was hypnotic. When the nocturne ended, there was a pause, that sacred moment between art and applause, and then the room erupted. But Sophia wasn't done. She waited for silence. Then she began, the room that remembers. Our peace, our rebellion, our secret. It started softly, that 5-note descending melody, haunting, aching. Then the harmony built underneath, complex, layered, older than a 7-year-old should be able to create. It sounded like longing, like a conversation between two people who loved each other but lived in different worlds, like a mother and daughter separated by something neither could control. I glanced at Dante. His jaw was tight, his hands gripped the armrests, his eyes, those ruthless, calculating eyes, were wet, not crying, but close. Around us, women dabbed their eyes with handkerchiefs, men cleared their throats. The mayor's wife was openly sobbing. Sophia played the final notes, let them dissolve into silence. Then she stood and curtsied. The applause was thunder. People rose to their feet, a standing ovation that shook the chandeliers. Shouts of "Brava!" echoed. Cameras flashed. Sophia stood there, blind eyes shining, absorbing the sound like sunlight. I looked at Dante again. He was standing, clapping, smiling, actually smiling. It transformed his face, made him look younger, human, like the man he might have been before. Life hardened him into marble. Sophia turned her head, listening for him. "Papa?" she called over the applause. "I'm here, Stella, I'm here." "Did I do good?" His voice cracked, just slightly. "You were perfect." And I watched a 7-year-old blind girl crack open her father's chest and remind him what love looked like. Later, in the car ride home, Sophia leaned against me. "He was proud," she whispered. I heard it. "What did it sound like?" I asked. She smiled. "Like coming home." The house felt different after the recital. Lighter. Like someone had opened windows in rooms that hadn't breathed in years. Staff treated Sophia differently, less like fragile china, more like a person. Mrs. Callahan actually smiled at breakfast. The guards nodded respectfully when Sophia passed. And Dante? He started having dinner with her. Not every night. His world didn't allow consistency. But 3-4 times a week, he'd appear in the dining room at 7, sit across from Sophia, and they'd eat together. Sometimes they talked, sometimes they just existed in the same space. It was progress. Small, significant. "He's different now," Sophia told me one afternoon during our lesson. Different how? Before, when he looked at me, I felt him remembering what I couldn't do. Now. She paused, searching for words. "Now he sees what I can." My chest tightened. "That's because you showed him." "We showed him," she corrected. "You made him see me differently." I didn't know what to say to that. That night, I was in the kitchen getting tea when Dante appeared. He rarely came to the staff areas. His presence felt disruptive. Wrong, like a wolf in a henhouse. "Miss Reed's." "Mr. Rossi." I set down my mug. "Is something wrong? Is Sophia?" "Sophia is fine. Asleep." He poured himself coffee. Black, strong. I wanted to thank you. I blinked. For what? For seeing what I was too afraid to see. He took a sip. For 3 years after my wife died, I wrapped Sophia in protection. I told myself I was keeping her safe. But really, I was keeping her small, manageable, less painful to lose. The vulnerability in his voice was jarring. She's exceptional, I said quietly. She is, and she needed someone to believe that. He looked at me, really looked. You gave her more than piano lessons. You gave her possibility. She gave herself possibility. I just didn't get in the way. A ghost of a smile. Humility doesn't suit you, Miss Reeds. You changed my daughter's life. Own it. He left his coffee on the counter and walked away. And I stood there, holding my tea, realizing that in this house of secrets and silence, something fundamental had shifted. Dante Rossi had thanked me, which meant I mattered. Which meant I was in far more danger than I'd ever imagined. I found it 3 days later, folded precisely, placed under my pillow like a confession someone couldn't say aloud. No envelope, no name, just thick paper, expensive, the kind Dante would use. I unfolded it with shaking hands. Miss Reeds, what you've done for Sophia is beyond gratitude, but you must understand something. In my world, happiness is a liability, love is a weapon, and my daughter's joy makes her visible. The recital was a mistake, not because she wasn't brilliant, she was, but because now people know what she can do. They know she's not the helpless child they thought she was. They know she matters to me. 3 years ago, Sophia could see. She had her mother's eyes green, bright, full of life. Then my enemies decided to send a message. They took her. For 48 hours, I didn't know if she was alive. When I found her, she was unharmed physically. But her eyes, they'd poisoned her. Something slow, irreversible. Medical art, the doctors called it. Strategic cruelty. She hasn't seen since. The men responsible are dead. I made sure of that. But the organization behind them isn't. They're patient. Watching. Waiting for another opportunity to hurt me through her. You've made her strong, confident, visible. That strength will draw their attention. For her safety, you should leave. I'll pay you 6 months' salary, provide references, but you cannot stay. This isn't cruelty, it's preservation. Dr. I read it 3 times. Then I walked straight to his study and knocked hard enough to bruise my knuckles. Enter. Dante sat at his desk, working on his laptop. He glanced up, unsurprised. You read it, he said. What the hell is this? I held up the letter, shaking. A courtesy. Most people I dismiss don't get explanations. You're firing me because Sophia's good at piano? Because she performed at a recital you demanded she play at? His jaw tightened. I'm protecting her. By taking away the one person who makes her feel normal? I stepped closer. She was poisoned, blinded by your enemies, and your solution is to isolate her again? My solution is to keep her alive. His voice cracked. You don't understand this world, Miss Reeds. In my life, everything I love becomes a target. My wife is dead. My daughter is blind. I will not. He stopped, breathed, controlled himself. I will not let them take her completely. So you'll do it yourself? I threw the letter on his desk. You'll take away her music, her teacher, her friend? You'll lock her back in that beautiful cage and call it love? It is love. It's fear, I countered. And Sophia deserves better than a father too scared to let her live. Silence. Dante stared at me like I'd slapped him. Get out, he said quietly. Gladly. I turned and walked away, heart hammering, knowing I'd just ended my employment. But I'd meant every word. I started packing that night. Threw clothes into my duffel, tried not to cry, failed. Sophia appeared in my doorway at midnight. You're leaving? Not a question. She always knew. Your father thinks it's best, I said, not looking at her. Papa is scared. He's trying to protect you. He's trying to control me. She walked in, sat on my bed. After Mama died, he stopped letting me do anything. No school, no friends, no life. Just walls and whispers and people treating me like I'm made of glass. Her voice hardened. I won't go back to that. Sophia, I heard you arguing with him. You were right. He's choosing fear over me. I sat beside her. It's not that simple. There are people who want to hurt you. Real threats. He's just using them as an excuse. She turned toward me. Angela, before you came, I wanted to disappear. I felt like a ghost haunting my own house. But you made me real again. You made me matter. My throat closed. You've always mattered. Not like this. Not as someone who creates things. Someone who's more than her tragedy. She grabbed my hand. Please don't leave. Please fight for me like you fought with Papa. I can't stay if he doesn't want me here. Then make him want you here. Sophia, You're not just anything. Her blind eyes were fierce. You're the bravest person I know. And if you leave, I'll stop playing. I'll stop trying. I'll go back to being the sad, broken girl everyone expects me to be. It was manipulation. Emotional blackmail from a 7-year-old. It was also true. Give me one day, I said finally. Let me think. She nodded, hugged me. I believe in you. After she left, I stood at my window, staring at the gardens below. Dante was right. I didn't understand his world, didn't know what threats lurked in shadows or what price loving his daughter might cost. But I knew what loneliness looked like. And I knew what happened when someone believed in you when everyone else had given up. I looked at my half-packed bag. Then I started unpacking. Because Sophia Rossi had fought for me, and I'd be damned if I didn't return the favor. I left on a Wednesday. No dramatic exit. No slamming doors. Just me, a duffel bag, and the kind of silence that feels like drowning. Dante arranged a car. Professional. Efficient. The way he arranged everything clean, emotionless, final. I didn't see him before I left. Coward. Sophia found me in the foyer. Mrs. Callahan hovered nearby, pretending not to watch, probably under orders to make sure I actually left. You're really going, Sophia said. She wasn't crying. Worse, she was resigned. Like she'd expected this. Like everyone always left. Your father thinks. I know what Papa thinks. Her voice was flat. Adult. He thinks love is dangerous. That caring about people gets them killed. She tilted her head. Maybe he's right. Sophia. It's okay, Angela. She reached out, found my hand. You taught me something important. For a little while, I wasn't broken. I was a musician. That's enough. It wasn't enough, not even close. But what could I say? That I wanted to stay? That walking away felt like abandoning my own heart? That her father's fear was understandable but unbearable? I knelt down, hugged her, memorized the feeling. Keep playing, I whispered. Promise me. I promise. And remember, you're not what happened to you. You're what you create. She nodded against my shoulder. Then Mrs. Callahan cleared her throat. The car is waiting, Miss Reeds. I pulled back, looked at Sophia one last time, blonde braids, unseeing eyes. The bravest person I'd ever known. Goodbye, Sophia. Not goodbye, she said softly. Just, see you in the music. I grabbed my bag and walked out before I could change my mind. The car pulled away. I didn't look back. But from a second-floor window, Dante Rossi watched. I felt his gaze like a hand on my throat. Heavy, possessive, regretful. He'd made his choice. Safety over connection, fear over love. And I hated him for it. But I also understood. Because in his world, everyone he loved became a target. His wife was murdered. His daughter was blinded. Caring was currency for enemies to spend. So he'd chosen to let me go while I was still whole, still breathing. Still someone Sophia could remember without grief. It was almost noble. It was also the cruelest thing he could have done. The car merged into traffic. Manhattan's skyline blurred past the window, all sharp edges and broken light. I'd come here broke and desperate. I'd leave the same way. Except now I knew what I'd lost. A 7-year-old girl who played like angels wept. A forbidden piano. Midnight lessons that felt like rebellion and religion. A man with storm-colored eyes who'd thanked me for teaching his daughter to be brave. And then sent me away for the exact same reason. I pressed my forehead against the window. Tried not to cry. Failed. Because some goodbyes don't kill you immediately. They just bleed you out slowly, one silent note at a time. The music school in Queens was called Bright Notes Academy. It wasn't bright. The notes were questionable. But it paid $18 an hour and didn't ask questions about gaps in my employment history. I taught beginner piano to kids who'd rather be on their phones. The instruments were donated out of tune, missing keys, held together with duct tape and prayers. It was nothing like the Steinway at the Rossi estate. It was nothing like Sophia. My students were sweet but distracted. 7-year-old Marcus who picked his nose between scales. 10-year-old Destiny who played with acrylic nails that clicked against the keys. Twins named Jake and Blake who couldn't sit still for more than 90 seconds. They tried. I tried. but the music sounded hollow. "You okay, Miss Angela?" Marcus asked one day, mid-lesson. "I'm fine." "Why?" He looked sad, like my mom when she watches those movies where the dog dies. Out of the mouths of nose-picking children. "I'm just tired," I lied. My mom says tired is what grown-ups call sad when they don't want to talk about it. Smart kid. At night, I went back to my shoebox apartment in Astoria. 4th floor, no elevator, neighbors who fought in 3 different languages. I'd downgraded from luxury to survival. And every night, I dreamed of marble floors. I'd wake up reaching for piano keys that weren't there, listening for Sophia's questions, expecting Dante's quiet presence in doorways. But there was nothing. Just sirens, distant trains, the couple upstairs having enthusiastic reconciliations at 2 a.m. I tried to move on, tried to convince myself that those 7 weeks at the Rossi estate were just a detour, a strange, beautiful detour that was never meant to be permanent. But grief doesn't care about logic. And every time I sat at those broken pianos, teaching kids who'd forget everything by next week, I felt Sophia's absence like a missing limb. She'd be playing right now, probably in the music room, maybe working on something new, or maybe she'd stopped. Maybe she'd kept her threat going silent again, retreating into the ghost she'd been before I arrived. The thought made me physically ill. I lasted 6 weeks in Queens. 6 weeks of cheap pianos and hollow music. 6 weeks of pretending I was fine. 6 weeks of lying to myself that I'd moved on. Then everything changed. The dreams got worse. Not nightmares, worse memories. I'd dream of Sophia's hands finding the right chord, her delighted laugh when she mastered something difficult, the way she'd tilt her head, listening to silence like it was speaking. I'd dream of Dante in his study, pouring grappa, telling me about his daughter's poisoning with a voice that could cut glass. I'd dream of the recital, the standing ovation, the way Dante's eyes went wet, and I'd wake up gasping, reaching for something I couldn't name. "You're playing wrong," Destiny told me during a lesson. "What?" "That piece. You're playing it sad. It's supposed to be happy." She was right. I'd been teaching Mozart's Eine kleine Nachtmusik bright, cheerful, and somehow made it sound like a funeral dirge. "Sorry, let me try again." But I couldn't fix it. Everything I played sounded like goodbye. The other teachers noticed. "You okay, Angela?" asked Mr. Chen, the guitar instructor. "You seem distant." "Personal stuff," I said vaguely. "Bad breakup?" "Something like that." It wasn't a lie. Not exactly. I'd broken up with a life I'd never really had. With a child who wasn't mine. With a man who'd never been more than my employer. But it felt like losing everything anyway. On Tuesday nights, I'd go to a piano bar in the village, order cheap wine, listen to a jazz pianist who was technically proficient but emotionally empty. I'd think, Sophia could play better than this. Then I'd think, stop, let her go. But the music wouldn't let me. Because that's the thing about teaching someone: you give them pieces of yourself, techniques, passion, ways of hearing the world. And when they're gone, those pieces don't come back. Sophia had them now. My approach to Chopin, my trick for remembering fingerings, my belief that music was conversation, not performance. She carried parts of me I'd never get back. And somewhere in Manhattan, in a mansion I'd never see again, she was either thriving or silent. I didn't know which possibility scared me more. So I drank my cheap wine, listened to mediocre jazz, pretended I was fine. And every night, the ghost notes followed me home. The sound of a blind girl playing a song we wrote together. The sound of something I'd loved and lost. The sound of my own heart, breaking in C minor. I heard about it from my bodega guy. "You see the news?" Rodriguez asked, ringing up my coffee and depression bagel. "That Rossi guy, the Mafia one, got hit." My blood went cold. "Hit? Nah, not like that. His shipment, import containers at the docks, feds intercepted like 20 million in designer knockoffs." He whistled. "People saying it's a setup, inside job. Someone in his organization rolled." I grabbed my coffee with shaking hands. "Is he okay? I mean, did anyone get hurt?" Rodriguez gave me a look. "You know him or something?" "I used to work for him, briefly." "Damn." He leaned in. "What's he like? Scary? Does he really have people disappeared?" "He has a daughter," I said quietly. "A little girl. Is she okay?" "How would I know? It's just doc drama, but..." He lowered his voice. "People saying there's gonna be retaliation. Rossi doesn't take losses. Someone's gonna pay." I left the bodega in a daze. That night, I did something stupid. I googled Dante Rossi raid. Articles everywhere, photos of shipping containers, federal agents, speculation about his alleged criminal enterprise, but nothing about Sophia. I texted Mrs. Callahan. The number was probably dead, but I tried anyway. Is Sophia safe? 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. Then, she's physically safe. That's all I can tell you. Physically safe implied she wasn't emotionally safe. I called. It went to voicemail. Called again. Same. On the 3rd try, she answered. Miss Reeds, you shouldn't contact. Is she playing? Silence. Mrs. Callahan, please. A long exhale. No, she hasn't touched the piano since you left. Mr. Rossi is dealing with business complications. The child is withdrawn. I've said too much. Don't call again. She hung up. I sat on my fire escape, staring at the city lights. Sophia had stopped playing. Dante was under siege. And I was in Queens, teaching tone-deaf kids, pretending I didn't care. But I did care. God help me. I cared so much it was killing me. The question was, what could I do about it? I was nobody. A fired maid. A music teacher with $1,700 in savings and 0 connections. I couldn't protect Sophia from Mafia politics. I couldn't solve Dante's problems. But I could make her play again. Maybe. If I was brave enough to go back. The knock came on a Thursday at 11 p.m. I almost didn't answer. Queens at night wasn't exactly safe, and unexpected knocks usually meant someone wanted money, drugs, or to tell me I was being evicted. But something made me look through the peephole. Dante Rossi stood in my hallway. No suit. Just dark jeans, black coat, and an expression that could crack stone. I opened the door. Mr. Rossi. She won't play. His voice was raw, tired. Not for me. Not for her tutors. Not for anyone. I heard about the raid. Are you? I don't care about the raid. He stepped closer. I care that my daughter sits in that music room every day, staring at the piano like it's a gravestone. I care that she's stopped speaking in full sentences. I care that I destroyed the one thing that made her whole because I was too scared to let her be happy. His eyes, those calculating, ruthless eyes, looked haunted. I don't know what I can. Come back. It wasn't a request. It wasn't a demand. It was something raw, a plea. Please, I was wrong. About the danger. About you. About everything. Dante. Don't. He flinched at his own name in my mouth. Don't tell me it's safer for her if you're gone. Don't tell me I made the right choice. Because watching her disappear into herself again is worse than any threat from my enemies. I stared at him. This man who'd fired me to protect his daughter. Who'd sent me away with a letter full of brutal truths. What changed? I asked. She did. His voice cracked. 3 nights ago I found her in the music room at 2 a.m. She wasn't playing. She was just sitting there, hands on the keys, crying. I asked her what was wrong. She said, "The piano forgot how to talk to me." My chest tightened. I've spent 3 years protecting her from danger, Dante continued. But I never protected her from loneliness. You did. You made her brave. Made her believe she could be more than her blindness. He paused. I took that away. And I don't know how to give it back. So you came to Queens at 11 p.m.? I came to beg. He said it simply. Honestly. Come back. Teach her. Ignore my paranoia and my rules and my fear. Just make her whole again. Behind him, the hallway flickered with fluorescent light. Somewhere in the building, someone was cooking curry. And Dante Rossi, Mafia boss, multimillionaire, man who made people disappear, stood in my crappy apartment building, begging me to save his daughter. When? I asked. Now, tonight. The car is downstairs. I looked at my apartment, my cheap furniture, my half-life in Queens. Then I grabbed my coat. Let's go. The estate looked different at midnight. Softer. Less fortress. More home. Or maybe I was different. Mrs. Callahan met us at the door. Her expression was carefully neutral, but something like relief flickered behind her eyes. Miss Reeds, welcome back. Thank you, Mrs. Callahan. The child is asleep. Shall I wake her? Dante shook his head. Tomorrow morning. Let her sleep. He turned to me. Your room is as you left it. We'll discuss terms tomorrow. Terms? Salary. Responsibilities. The fact that I'm apparently incapable of making good decisions without you questioning them. A ghost of a smile. We'll figure it out. Then he did something unexpected. He offered his hand. I took it. His grip was warm, steady. The handshake of equals, not employer and employee. "Thank you," he said quietly, "for coming back, for not giving up on her." I could never give up on Sophia. Something shifted in his expression. "I'm starting to understand that." He released my hand, stepped back, professional distance restored. But the wall between us had cracked, just slightly. I went upstairs. My room was exactly as I'd left it, bed made, window overlooking the gardens, the black dress from the recital hanging in the closet, like they'd known I'd come back, or hoped I would. I sat on the bed, looked at my hands. 6 weeks ago, I'd left this place heartbroken. Now I was back, stronger, clearer, because Sophia needed me, and maybe, just maybe, Dante did too. I lay down, closed my eyes, and for the first time in 6 weeks, I didn't dream of ghost notes. I just slept, peacefully, knowing that tomorrow morning, a 7-year-old girl would wake up and find out that sometimes people come back. That love doesn't always leave. That music remembers. And that even in houses built on secrets and silence, hope can find a way in. Through the cracks, through a broken piano, through a stubborn maid who couldn't walk away. I heard her before I saw her. Running. Small feet on marble, moving fast, too fast for someone who navigated by memory. She didn't care. "Angela." Sophia crashed into me at the bottom of the stairs. Arms around my waist, face pressed against my stomach. I knelt down, held her, felt her shake. "You came back," she whispered. "You came back." "I came back. Papa said you would." But I didn't believe him. I thought. She pulled away, tears on her cheeks. "I thought I'd never hear your voice again." "Hey, I'm here. I'm not going anywhere. Promise." I looked up. Dante stood in the hallway, watching. His expression was unreadable, but his eyes, they were grateful. Sad. Hopeful. He nodded once. Permission, blessing, trust. I turned back to Sophia. "I promise." She grabbed my hand. "Come, I need to show you something." She pulled me to the music room, sat at the piano, positioned her hands. "I wrote something while you were gone. It's called Angela's Return." She hesitated. "It's not finished." I couldn't. I didn't know how it was supposed to end. "Play what you have." She did. It was fragmented. Haunting. The melody started in the minor key, sad, searching, then shifted to something brighter. Hopeful but uncertain. It was beautiful. And incomplete. She stopped. "It needs your hands, to show it how to finish." I sat beside her, found the next phrase, added harmony. She echoed it, adjusted, improved. We played together back and forth, completing each other's musical sentences. The song found its ending. Not happy, not sad, just resolved, like coming home after a long journey. When we finished, Sophia smiled, really smiled. "There," she said. "Now it's perfect." And behind us, Dante Rossi stood in the doorway, watching, not with fear, with something that looked dangerously close to hope. 6 months later, Sophia played at Carnegie Hall, not as a novelty, not as Dante Rossi's blind daughter, as a musician, the youngest pianist to ever headline the main stage. The reviews called her transcendent, a prodigy, the future of classical music. I sat in the front row. Beside me, Dante watched his daughter with the kind of pride that hurts. Afterward, reporters swarmed. "Sophia, how does it feel? Who's your teacher? What's next?" Sophia turned toward me, smiled. "My teacher's name is Angela Reeds. She taught me that being blind doesn't make you broken. It just makes you listen harder." The cameras turned, flashed. I tried to disappear. Dante's hand found mine, held it, anchored me. "Don't run," he murmured. "You earned this." So I stayed, and watched Sophia shine. That night, in the car ride home, Sophia fell asleep against my shoulder. Dante looked at us in the rearview mirror. "She smiles now," he said quietly. "Because of you. She smiles because she found her voice." "No." His eyes met mine. "She smiles because you taught her it was safe to be heard." And in that moment, I understood something. Some people come into your life and change it completely. Some jobs become callings. Some students become family. And sometimes the most dangerous thing you can do is the exact thing that saves you. I'd come to the Rossi estate broke and desperate. I'd leave it eventually whole. Because I'd taught a blind girl how to play the piano. And in return, She'd taught me how to see. 3 weeks after my return, winter arrived with teeth. Snow blanketed the estate. The staff lit fireplaces in every room. The mansion transformed into something almost cozy if you ignored the armed guards and the tension that lived in Dante's shoulders. The raid had consequences, whispers in the underworld, rivals circling, allies questioning his strength. But tonight, the house was quiet. Sophia was asleep. The staff had retired. I was heading to my room when I found him. The library. Dante sat in a leather chair by the fireplace, staring at flames like they held answers. A glass of something amber rested in his hand, untouched, forgotten. I should have kept walking. "Can't sleep?" I asked instead. He didn't startle, didn't turn. "Sleep requires peace. I have none. Want company? Depends. Will you tell me I'm being paranoid again?" A ghost of a smile touched my lips. "Probably. Then yes, sit." I settled into the chair across from him. The fire crackled between us. Orange light danced across his face, highlighting the exhaustion he tried to hide. "Tell me something," he said after a long silence. "Why did you come back, really?" "For Sophia. That's what you tell yourself." His eyes found mine. "But what's the truth underneath?" I hesitated. Because the truth was complicated, messy. "I came back because walking away felt like dying," I admitted. "Because I'd spent 6 weeks pretending I was fine, but every piano I touched reminded me of what I'd lost. Not just Sophia, the whole thing. The music, the purpose, the feeling that I mattered in a way I'd never mattered before." Dante was quiet. Then, "My mother was a pianist." I blinked. "What? You want to know why that piano matters? Why I couldn't let Sophia touch it?" He took a sip of his drink. "My mother taught me to play when I was 5. Before I understood what my father's business really was. Before I knew that our money came from things that would make most people sick." The fire popped. Sparks danced. "She'd play every morning. Chopin, mostly. She said music was the only honest thing in our house. That as long as she could play, she wasn't drowning." He paused. "Then one day, my father's enemies sent a message. They killed her. In the music room. At the piano." My chest tightened. "Dante." "I was 8. I found her." His voice didn't change. Flat. Controlled. "I haven't played since. And when my wife died, another message. Another punishment for being a Rossi. I couldn't let Sophia near that piano. Because in my mind, pianos meant death. Music meant loss. But Sophia sees music as life, as connection, as the one thing that makes her whole." He looked at me. "You taught her that. You broke the curse I'd put on that instrument." "There was no curse, just grief. They're the same thing." He set down his glass. "Do you know what terrifies me most?" "What?" "That I'm starting to believe hope is possible. That maybe Sophia can be safe and happy. That maybe letting people in doesn't automatically doom them." His eyes held mine. "You're making me believe in things I've spent 20 years killing." The air between us felt charged, dangerous. "Is that a bad thing?" I asked softly. "I don't know yet." He stood, walked to the window. Snow fell in silent sheets. "But it feels like standing at the edge of a cliff, waiting to see if I'll fall or fly." I joined him at the window. Our reflections overlapped in the glass. "Maybe you don't have to do either," I said. "Maybe you just stand there, and let yourself feel safe for once." Dante turned, looked down at me, close enough that I could see flecks of gold in his dark eyes. "Nothing about you feels safe," Angela reads. "Good," I whispered. "Safe is overrated." Something shifted. The wall between us, employer and employee, protector and protected, cracked further. He didn't move, neither did I. But the fire burned. And outside, the snow kept falling. And somewhere in the space between us, something inevitable was building. It happened 2 nights later. I was in the music room, playing softly after Sophia had gone to bed. Nothing complex. Just Debussy's Clair de Lune, the piece I'd played the first night I'd broken the rules. I didn't hear him enter. "You play differently now," Dante said from the doorway. I jumped, hands stilled on the keys. "You need to wear a bell." "And ruin my intimidating entrance?" "Never." He walked in, hands in his pockets. Casual, dangerous. "You didn't answer. Your playing, it's changed." "How?" "Before, you played like you were remembering something painful. Now," he paused, "now you play like you're creating something new." And I turned on the bench to face him. Maybe I am. Because of Sophia? Because of all of it. Her, the music, this place. I hesitated. You. The word hung between us. Dante stopped walking. Me. You terrified me when I first came here. This cold, dangerous man who made rules and expected them followed. But then you sent me away to protect your daughter. Then you showed up in Queens and begged me to come back. I stood. You're not what I thought you were. And what am I? Scared, like the rest of us. Just better at hiding it. His jaw tightened. You see too much. You let me see it. I stepped closer. Why did you really ask me back? And don't say it was just for Sophia. It was for Sophia. Liar. His eyes flashed. Careful, Angela. Why? You going to fire me again? I was close now. Close enough to feel the heat coming off him. Tell me the truth. Why me? You could have hired any teacher. Someone qualified. Someone who followed rules. Why did you drive to Queens in the middle of the night and ask me demand that I come back? Silence. The kind that precedes earthquakes. Because, he said finally, voice low and rough, my daughter wasn't the only one who stopped living when you left. My breath caught. I'd watch the music room and expect to hear piano at 2 a.m. I'd pass your room and forget you weren't there. I'd catch myself almost calling you to dinner because Sophia laughed more when you were present. He stepped closer. You weren't just her teacher. You became something this house needed. Something I... He stopped, jaw clenched. Something you what? I pushed. Something I don't deserve. His hand came up, cupped my face. His thumb brushed my cheekbone. You're light in a world I've spent 32 years keeping dark. And I don't know if I'm strong enough to deserve you. But I'm selfish enough to want to try. My heart was hammering. Dante, tell me to stop. His forehead touched mine. Tell me this is wrong. That you're just the teacher. That I'm just your employer. Tell me to walk away. I should have. Every logical neuron screamed at me to step back. To remember the power imbalance. To protect myself. Instead I whispered, no. He kissed me. It wasn't soft. Wasn't gentle. It was desperate. Hungry. The kiss of a man who'd been starving and finally found sustenance. His hands tangled in my hair. My fingers gripped his shirt. We collided like continents shifting, violent, inevitable, world-changing. He tasted like whiskey and danger. Smelled like bergamot in winter. Felt like every bad decision I'd ever wanted to make. I pulled back, gasping. This is insane. Probably. He kissed my jaw, my neck. Tell me to stop. I can't. Why not? Because I've been wanting this since you stood in my Queen's apartment and looked at me like I was the only thing that could save you. He pulled back. Eyes dark. Pupils blown. You might be. That's a lot of pressure. Can you handle it? I grabbed his shirt. Pulled him back. Try me. This kiss was slower. Deeper. The kind that rewrites the rules. When we finally broke apart, we were both breathing hard. This complicates things, I said. Everything about you complicates things. He tucked hair behind my ear. But I'm done pretending that's a bad thing. What about Sophia? Sophia adores you. This doesn't change that. What about your enemies? His expression darkened. That's a different conversation. Dante. Let me have tonight. He kissed my forehead. One night where I'm not the boss or the target or the monster. Just a man who wants to be close to the woman who taught his daughter to be brave. I should have said no. Should have been reasonable. Instead, I stayed. And let the fire burn. They came 3 nights later. 2:47 a.m. I was in Dante's study. We'd fallen into a pattern. Late-night talks by the fire. Stolen kisses. The kind of intimacy that felt more dangerous than any weapon. The first gunshot shattered the window. Dante moved before the glass hit the floor. Shoved me to the ground. Covered my body with his. Stay down, he ordered. More gunshots. Shouting. The sound of the front door splintering. Sophia, I gasped. I'll get her. You stay. Like hell. I was already moving. Dante cursed, grabbed a gun from his desk drawer because of course he had a gun in his desk drawer, and we ran. The hallway was chaos. Guards shouting in Italian, staff screaming, smoke billowing from somewhere downstairs. We reached Sophia's room. She was sitting up in bed, terrified. Papa? I'm here, Stella. Angela's here too. Dante scooped her up. We need to move. Now. What's happening? Bad men. But we're safe, I promise. He handed her to me. There's a panic room. East wing. Behind the bookshelf in the library. Code is 0728. Take her. Lock the door. Don't open it for anyone but me. Dante. Go. Now. More gunshots. Closer. I ran. Sophia clung to me, trembling. We made it to the library. I found the bookshelf massive, old, seemingly immovable. 0728. Sophia whispered. Papa's birthday. I punched in the code. The bookshelf clicked. Swung open. Behind it a steel door. A room lined with supplies. Water, food, medical kit, weapons. I pulled Sophia inside. Locked the door. The room was soundproofed. Almost. We could hear muffled chaos outside. Gunshots, shouting, something crashing. Sophia was crying. Silent tears streaming down her face. Angela, I'm scared. I know, baby. Me too. I held her close. But your dad is the scariest person I know. He's going to be fine. What if he's not? I didn't answer. Because I didn't know. Minutes felt like hours. We sat in the dark, listening to war. Then silence. Worse than the chaos. Because silence could mean victory or death. Sophia gripped my hand. Is it over? I don't know. Footsteps outside the panic room. Heavy, purposeful. I grabbed the gun from the weapons cache, hands shaking. I'd never fired a gun in my life. A knock. 3 times. Pause. 2 times. Angela, it's me. Open the door. Dante's voice. I unlocked it. He stood there, shirt torn, blood on his face, knuckles raw. But alive, standing, furious. Are you hurt? I asked. Not my blood. He looked at Sophia. You okay, Stella? She nodded, launching into his arms. He held her, kissed her head, then his eyes found mine. You didn't stay down. You're welcome for getting your daughter to safety. A ghost of a smile. Stubborn woman. Scared man who hides guns in desks. Fair. The guards appeared. Mr. Rossi. 3 hostiles eliminated. 2 escaped. Perimeter secure. Dante nodded. Sweep the grounds. Double security. No one in or out without my clearance. They left. Sophia was shaking. Papa, why did they come? Because I made enemies, Stella. And sometimes, enemies try to hurt the people I love. They wanted to hurt us? They wanted to scare me. He looked at me. They failed. We went back to Sophia's room. Dante stayed until she fell asleep, holding her hand. Then he and I stood in the hallway. Dawn was breaking. The house smelled like gunpowder and fear. This is why I sent you away, he said quietly. This, right here. The moment when my world explodes and takes everyone near me down too. And yet, Sophia and I are fine. This time. Dante, you fought for her. His hand cupped my face. You grabbed a gun you don't know how to use and prepared to protect my daughter with your life. Of course I did. That's why I love you. He said it simply, inevitably. And why you need to leave before they try again. My heart stopped. You love me? Unfortunately. And you want me to go? I want you to live. He kissed my forehead. Even if it's not with us. I grabbed his shirt. Pulled him close. I'm not leaving. Not because of fear. Not because of danger. Not even because you love me. I held his gaze. I'm staying because I love you back. And I'm done running. His eyes went dark. Desperate. Angela. No. We stand together. Or we fall together. Your choice. For a long moment, he just stared at me. Then he kissed me. Like I was salvation. Like I was home. The attack changed everything. Dante went to war. Not with guns, though those were involved, but with strategy. He identified the rival family responsible. Exposed their operations. Made alliances with people who scared even him. Within 2 weeks, the threat was neutralized. The cost? 3 sleepless nights, 2 near-death experiences, and a reputation that went from dangerous to mythical. But we survived. Sophia, oblivious to most of the violence, focused on piano. She had a competition coming up, a prestigious youth showcase. Will you be there? She asked me one afternoon. Front row, always. And Papa? I hesitated. Dante had been distant since the attack, present physically but absent emotionally, back behind his walls. I'll make sure he's there, I promised. That night, I cornered him in his study. You're avoiding me. I'm protecting you. By shutting me out? By keeping you alive. He didn't look up from his laptop. They targeted the estate because of you, because I made you visible, made you matter. So what? You love me from a distance now? Pretend we're strangers? If it keeps you safe, yes. I walked around his desk, closed his laptop, forced him to look at me. Dante Rossi. You are the smartest, most frustrating man I've ever met. But if you think pushing me away protects me, you're an idiot. His eyes flashed. Angela, I'm not fragile. I'm not a liability. I'm the woman who hid your daughter in a panic room while people shot at us. I'm the woman who's been sneaking into your study every night because I'm terrified you'll disappear into your paranoia. My voice cracked. I'm the woman who loves you. All of you. Even the broken parts. Silence. Then, I don't know how to do this. Do what? Love someone without destroying them. Everyone I've ever cared about, my mother, my wife, almost Sophia, they all paid for my choices. How do I love you knowing that could happen again? I cupped his face. You don't know, none of us do. That's what makes it brave. But here's what I know, I'd rather live one dangerous day with you than a lifetime of safe mediocrity without you. His hands covered mine. You're sure? Completely. He kissed me. Soft, sweet. The kind of kiss that promised tomorrow. When we broke apart, he whispered, Ti amo, Angela reads. I love you. Ti amo, I whispered back. 2 months later, Sophia won her competition, standing ovation, judges in tears, offers from music schools across the country. Dante watched from the audience, holding my hand. Afterward, reporters asked Sophia what inspired her. She smiled. My teacher taught me that music is about connection, about finding people who understand your language even when the world is silent. I play for my mother, who I never got to know, and for Angela, who taught me to be brave. The cameras turned to me. I tried to hide. Dante squeezed my hand. Don't run, he murmured. You earned this. So I stayed. That night, back at the estate, Sophia fell asleep between us on the couch, some animated movie playing softly. Dante looked at me over her blonde head. Is this what happiness feels like? He asked. I think so. It's terrifying. Good. That means it matters. He smiled. Real. Unguarded. And I realized we'd built something impossible. A family from broken pieces. Love from danger. Music from silence. Sophia stirred. Are you two done being mushy? I'm trying to watch the movie. We laughed. And for the first time in 32 years, Dante Rossi looked at peace. They said love couldn't survive in a world this dark. They were wrong. Droppa, if you believe in second chances and found families. What should happen next wedding? More music? Another threat? Tell me in the comments. Part of the Modern Romance Chronicles series. Follow for more stories about love that breaks all the rules. Number Mafia romance. Number forbidden love. Number found family. Number piano story. Number love and danger. Number Italian mafia. Number second chances. Number blind but brave. Number courageous heart. Number happily ever after.